What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK.
Howdy how, folks. Happy Thursday. How's everyone doing? Hey, Scott, welcome. Yeah, so today we've got some people coming over for dinner, and the folks that are coming, there's a gluten issue, a dairy issue, and a tomato issue. So we got Hey, Squire Creamsicle, welcome. Hello, Avocado Korean KitchenAid. So we've got to avoid those things. And the folks that are also coming over are pretty low key when it comes to food. Not necessarily the most adventurous. And so today's dinner is not going to be the most exciting thing in the world, but you know, hey, it'll do. So I'm doing an oven fried chicken, which I've done before. Hey, Accidental Chaos, what's going on? And gonna use a tapioca starch for the coating on it, as opposed to my normal oven fried chicken mix, which is mostly all-purpose flour, but there's also things like potato starch. There's, I think, cornstarch in there. There might be some toasted starch of some form. It's one of those things that's like I just kind of add to it when I have stuff and mix it up, and I've got a kind of a bucket of it up top. And so yeah, the general plan for the day is we're going to roast all the things. So I've got both of my ovens fired up, ready to go, and then yeah, we're gonna kind of time it out so then that way everything is done right around the same time. Just hanging out waiting for the DF so I can be multitasking with both streams. Ah, that's right, because Dragon Force. Where are they playing tonight? They were in, what, St. Louis, I think, last night. Are they up in Minnesota tonight? I don't remember. So yeah. Need to, you know, prep the things and get them going. The chicken is, you know, pretty standard. Trim off the excess fat and everything else. Season it, coat it, get it on the tray. The potatoes, I'm just gonna cut them up into, I don't know, either quarters or eighths or whatever, depending on kind of how big they are. Toss them with a little grapeseed oil. Hit them with some salt. And probably, I'm gonna hit them with salt, some granulated garlic, some granulated onion, pepper, and I'll chop up some fresh rosemary and throw them in. And then for the cauliflower, we're gonna chop it up, toss it in probably some grapeseed oil again, hit it with some of my pixie dust seasoning, and maybe finish it with a little bit of lemon. I don't know, we'll kind of see. Butter will be on the table for those that can consume it. But, oh, they're in Milwaukee. Nice. So, that is the plan. People are coming over. You've never had cauliflower before? Oh, that's a shame. Because cauliflower, I like cauliflower. I can see why some people don't, or some people may have issues with it. I mean, it's in the cabbage family, relative of like broccoli, but I quite enjoy it, and yeah, so it's good stuff. Blanched or no? Are we talking about the potatoes, Scott? Because no, the potatoes will not be blanched since they're being cut up. They're just gonna roast for the full time. So you've heard mixed things, but you've never had it. Well, you know what, Accidental Chaos, I highly recommend giving it a shot. When we get to the cauliflower, I'll talk about that a little bit more, but no, I'm not going to blanch the cauliflower. I'm just going to straight roast it. Yeah, that's the plan with it. So I'm going to get started on the chicken. My time frame is people are rolling in at 6:30. It is currently 10 after 4. I've got about a little over an hour in order to get everything in and get everything prepped, which, given the simplicity of the menu, shouldn't be an issue. It'll come together pretty easily, and I'm just gloving up to work with the chicken, so then that way I don't necessarily have to worry about washing my hands later. And the only reason why these are wet at the moment is because before I took the gloves off, I, thoroughly washed them after I was done using them. So then that way they'd be nice and clean. Anyways, got my pack of chicken thighs, which are just off camera. And since there's going to be a total of 6 of us, I just got the big pack, which has got 10 of them in there. So it's just, a question of, okay, trim off all the things. And as much as it kills me to remove kind of this other flap of skin, because I love kind of the chicken chicharron. Hey, Lumpy Pickle, welcome. I love the chicken chicharron that's on there. I might leave a couple with it on, but I think for the most part, just to be safe, I'll take it off, just so then that way, yeah. So, ta-da, one done. Thankfully, this tends to go pretty quickly, and especially, when you've had plenty of practice kind of doing this. And, I mean, you can see that the thigh size between these two is pretty different. Oh, the little oven is now ready, it sounds like. I just heard it beep. Normally, it's like, that would be kind of a cause for concern, just to make sure that things are done at the right time and everything, and things don't get overcooked. But for this particular application, I'm not gonna sweat it too much. If needs be, I'll go ahead and suck it up and eat the small one, just so then that way the guests get the good stuff, because that's just kind of how it goes. And I don't mind. Okay. Goes pretty quick once if you're just cutting that little bit off. You don't have to sit there and try and scrape it. And yeah, there's a little bit of ice on some of these. I didn't get to the market as early as I would have liked, since I know just from experience that these packs of thighs tend to have a little bit of ice on them. And so if I get them early enough, I can leave them out, and then they'll be nice and thawed. But the fact that there's a little bit of stiffness in some of these, it's not enough of a concern for me to really worry about it, because it's going into a 400 degree oven, and it will take care of things pretty easily. I just have my chicken on a sheet tray here. You can probably see the corner of it. I just have it like that, so then that way, if there's any kind of leakage or anything like that, the tray catches it. Because it's easier to clean the trays than have to wipe down the entire counter. And we're at the last one. Oh, standard coating recipe? Yeah. Totally. So, speaking of like the YouTube channel and stuff like that, so there is that socials command that will spit out kind of all that information. On the actual channel page for Twitch, if you go into the About section, you'll see a whole bunch of brand new buttons that have popped up, because I figured out how to do that kind of thing. So, like, there's a button for the YouTube channel, there's a button for the Instagram, the Facebook, the Discord, and then there's also and now the big oven's ready. There's also a big button that says donate on there. I put a tip jar up because I have been asked how one could support the stream if they so chose, and I'd actually kind of debated about putting one up for a while, just because I didn't want to seem like I was, being greedy or anything like that. But it's there. It's never expected, but it is always appreciated. Should you feel inclined, it's there. So I do thank everybody for their support for just showing up, because, you know, showing up's half the battle. Okay, got my chicken all laid out here. My plan is that I'm going to go through and I'm going to season it on the board, salt, pixie dust, flip, salt, pixie dust, and then in this gallon Ziploc here is the tapioca starch, which I don't want to pull my gloves off just yet. Actually, this hand should be clean. This is the package of the tapioca starch that I got. It's from Thailand. I grabbed it when I was at the market. I think it was yesterday. So this is just my kombu salt that I've made. So I just want to make sure that I get a decent coating of everything on here. I will say that pixie dust tends to be pretty strong. So do not be surprised if I start sneezing after applying it, because that's what usually happens. Yeah, the pixie dust recipe is on the YouTube page. I made a video, oh gosh, what was that? A couple of years ago, where I mixed it up, and so the full recipe is on there. But it's a variation of my butt glitter recipe that includes some additional herbs and spices, and so it kind of acts like a all-purpose secret herbs and spices recipe, as it were. Oop, that came out a little bit heavier than I had hoped. But seeing as this kombu salt's pretty powdery, even though it kind of like visually may look like a lot, volumetrically it's not that much. So that one's going to be a little bit extra flavorful. I'll put that on the end. Great thing about the pixie dust is, so the butt glitter, I've literally used it on everything. Beef, chicken, pork, fish, vegetation, and the butt glitter is great on all of them. The pixie dust I made initially to go on chicken specifically, but then I tried it out on pork and it was quite good. It works on beef, but I can't say it's my favorite, but it's amazing on vegetables. I'm going to go wash my hands, my gloved hands real quick, and then I'm going to start using the tongs to get the chicken coated in the tapioca starch. Okay. This is the one that got a little bit of extra love, so all I'm doing is literally I just put it in there, shake it up a bit, and then just kind of knock off the excess. I always put it skin side down on the tray initially, so then that way it has maximum contact with the tray and will render out as much of the fat as possible from underneath it, and that'll also kind of help fry up that skin. And then about halfway through the cooking, we'll flip it. Yeah, it's pretty easy technique, and it yields really delicious results. So the tapioca starch should give us a really nice crispy coating, and it's going to be super thin, which I actually quite like. Because ain't nothing wrong with good old, Southern fried chicken. Because that stuff is a weakness of mine. With its, sometimes heavy batter, which I like. But sometimes the super thin coating is also really, really nice. Because then it doesn't feel quite so heavy as you're eating it. Oh, consequently, I, for whatever reason, Lumpy, the wallpaper on the laptop decided to disappear. I don't know why. But then, so I just downloaded a new wallpaper just to make sure that, oh, hey, look, the TV screen's working just fine. Since that was the, my big tech issue on, what was that, Tuesday? I thought that something was wrong with the connection. No, the TV was on. It was just, for whatever reason, the wallpaper on the laptop decided to not be present. And so instead of having the image that was on there, it was just black. And so I thought the TV was off when it was really on the whole time. Funny, haha. Yeah, black desktop wallpaper can be problematic. Yeah, absolutely. So I've decided what I need to do is I need to keep a local folder of wallpaper images just in case. Right now, I think I have the thumbnail image from the Soulbound video as the wallpaper because I thought that was a nice one. That, and I couldn't find the wallpaper that was originally on there. Or at least I couldn't find a good version of it. Okay. So, the nice thing about this is I can just throw the whole thing away. Ta-da! Easy peasy. Okay. That is our tray of prepped oven-fried chicken, and that is done, and I'm just going to put it on the stove to hang out for a bit. Okay. Get this out of here and get that rinsed. And as soon as my dishwasher is emptied, I'll have a completely empty dishwasher so I can run the cutting board through, which will be nice. Okay. Green cutting board for vegetation. I've got a couple of things of rosemary that I harvested from our rosemary bush this morning. I've got those rinsed off already, and so those are just hanging out. Probably. Okay. Big bowl to mix everything up in. So since the rosemary's out, I will go ahead and get that stripped and chopped up first, and then into the bowl. So then once I start cutting up the potatoes and I throw them in, then the whole thing can be tossed together. Plan to do the same thing with the cauliflower. I'll just toss it in this one bowl just to kind of minimize the equipment that I got to use and everything else. Trying to keep it easy. Hey, Vegas Squid, welcome, welcome. Yeah, we got a fairly sizable rosemary bush out front. The bulk of it is actually starting to flower right now, which is great because it attracts bees, and bees are our friends. We can't really live without them. So, yeah, it'll be nice to have the bees back. But then I'm just gonna do kind of a rough chop on this. I don't want gargantuan rosemary pieces, but just little ones would be just fine. There we
go. What we need is a few good taters. What's
I always like do kind of a big rough chop initially, just to kind of get the overall sort of volume of whatever it is I'm chopping up down to a more manageable size before then going back and really kind of hitting it with the knife. And that's looking pretty good. I'm not terribly worried about evenness or anything like that. That just goes into the bowl. Easy peasy. Then I got my potatoes here. I'm using Yukon Golds today just because they looked good and they're really nice when roasted. So I'm probably just gonna quarter these guys up. Yes, the rosemary being added to the potatoes. I'm gonna be tossing them with a bit of grapeseed oil, salt, pepper, some granulated garlic and granulated onion. But yeah, is the tapioca starch made from the pearls and yes, tapioca pudding or the boba pearls, same thing. Yeah, there's a menu command, Vegas Squid. If you hit ! menu, it'll throw up what the menu is for the day. No, potatoes are being roasted at 400. Everything's being roasted at 400. I like a slightly higher temp, just so then that way they, I don't know, at least in my oven, in my experience, that temp seems to work best. So, oh, you like to guess? Oh, okay. Well, then Saturday is going to be really interesting. Because if you don't look up what the menu is Saturday, you'll probably be wondering to yourself, like, what on earth is happening? Saturday is going to be fun. I'm excited for Saturday. Because I was experimenting with some of the things and had great success with one of the experiments. And one of the ingredients that I needed for Saturday, when I was at a market yesterday and they had it, they wanted, it was like $5 for this little packet of it, and I'm like, you guys are out of your mind. And so I made my own, and I'll post a picture of that later. Can you give me a regional guess? Japan. Very important question. What process do you use to cook your steaks? Okay. Steak question is a big question, and my standard answer when it comes to that is whatever way you like to make it that way. For me, my number one preferred method to cook my steaks is actually sous vide and then finish off. I have a really large blowtorch out back that I use to do a final sear on them. That's sort of my preferred method. I do like them pan seared to finish, but sometimes it's just easier to use my giant torch out back. Second fave, I love to reverse sear. Yeah, reverse sear is a fantastic method. I mean, because to be honest, reverse sear is effectively sort of the same thing with sous vide, just that you're starting it off slow and then doing a sear at the end. I mean, I'm doing effectively the same thing with sous vide by having it in the water bath at that precise temp and then finishing it off super hot. And because of that, I tend to do mine at about 129 Fahrenheit. And then after letting them rest for a little bit, before I go to sear them off, then I find that it at the final resting temp, it ends up hitting a perfectly medium rare, which is the way that I like it. Yeah, absolutely. They totally look super ugly. Yeah, they look super ugly because, I mean, it's just, it's super gray and just, and they have to be finished off. But it's one of those things that there's that trade-off. It's like, okay, I could just straight up sear it, but then I end up with a bigger gray zone on the outside. With the sous vide, it's like, okay, I don't have the benefits of, like, say, doing it over a wood fire or something like that. But it's done perfectly, and especially when you finish it off, you get maximum medium rareness, or however you like your steak, in the middle with that great seared crust. So, 10-minute rest, something like that. To be honest, like, the rest period isn't so much for redistribution of juices, which a lot of people like to say. In my experience, I have found that to not be the case, but I like to rest it just so then that way it kind of stabilizes a little bit. But I have done them straight out of the bag and seared it. But, yeah, effectively. So, okay. Potatoes and rosemary in the bowl here. Gonna hit it with a bit of the grapeseed oil. And this is that kombu salt of mine. Then we'll hit it with, that's right. So a bit of the granulated garlic. And the granulated onion. And pepper. Thank goodness for this giant IKEA bowl. It's not the most stable thing in the world, but it sure holds a heck of a lot. And it's wonderful for mixing stuff like this because it's so round with a very little flat spot. There we go. And onto the sheet. Excellent. That's a large tray of potatoes to be roasted. Done. Give the hands a quick wash. So not everything is actually going to go in the onion at the exact same time, just because of, like the potatoes will need like the full hour or so. The chicken will probably need closer to 45 minutes. And the cauliflower, that's going to be a bit of a wild card. It could end up being anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes or so. So I'll probably put it in earlier just to be safe, and then if needs be, I'll pull them out and then pop them back in maybe 10-15 minutes before guests arrive, and let them finish off that way. So, okay. Bowl is clean enough for government work. And we're ready to move on to round 2. Now for these, because... So I finally went and measured it today, but the small wall oven that we have can handle an absolute maximum of a 16 by 16 inch tray. So a normal half sheet tray will not fit into there. So I'm going with a pair of 13 by 9 Pyrexes is what I'm putting the cauliflower into. Just because it's what I got and it works. Our potato cake's just like a really thick French fry. It depends on what kind of potato cake you're talking about. If we're talking about, like, say, a German or a Korean potato pancake, it's more like a pureed potato that's been strained and then fried. If we're talking about like a Jewish latke, it's more a rosti. It's more like a hash brown patty that's fried up, so it depends. Yeah, to be honest, fries is, I adore fries, and I do not order fries from a lot of places because more often than not what I get are oil blanched potatoes, and I love my fries crispy, and that's how I want them. It's more like a McDonald's hash brown but bigger and better. Yeah, effectively. Ooh, can I also try that? Yeah, totally, sure. The recipe is easy, it's just time consuming and very hot. Which recipe are we talking about? Potato pancakes? One of these days I would love for you to try out my potato cake recipe. Vegas Squid, if you are on the Discord, feel free to post it in there. Because I always take recommendations from people in terms of like, hey, do you want to try this out or something else? I don't know I don't think there's a specific Discord command, but you can certainly, if you go onto the About on the Twitch page, there's a bunch of buttons. The Discord points to one of them, or I think Lumpy Pickle just threw up the socials command. So either one of those ways, but yeah, just throw it up on there, and I would love to give it a try. Let's see. Need to learn how to make some things. I only cook the basics. Hey, that's why I'm here. Accidental Chaos is I'm your culinary tech support guy. That's what I do. You have to peel the potatoes the moment you take them out of the oven and then shred them as they're still hot. Kartoffelpuffen. Yes. Cool. Oh, I could use some help with the recipe I'm trying to perfect. Yeah, absolutely. If you got questions about something that you're working on, definitely hit me up. It's okay. It's a hamburger recipe. Yeah, right on. Definitely. You can totally, I mean, if you want to ask your question here, I'm more than happy to, talk through it, because we're going to have plenty of time to chat in a little bit. Because I'm going to have quite a bit of free time, because I chose easy things to make this evening. My original idea was I wanted to make a Filipino adobo. If you're not familiar with adobo, so adobo, there's a bunch of different variations. Generally they use chicken or pork or both, but it's got vinegar and soy sauce, and it usually takes a while to make, and it is super delicious. It's kind of like the ultimate Filipino comfort food. I haven't made it in a while, and I was feeling it. So when I went to get the Filipino style soy sauce, this was yesterday. Initially, I was under the impression that the Filipino soy sauces were 100% soy based, and And so that would have been okay because one of the guests this evening has a gluten issue. And when I went to look at the Filipino soy sauces, the kind of the biggest brands that are available here, was it like Swan, Datu Puti, I think is another one, and Pina Americana, I think is the other one. It's kind of the big one. And I checked out the ingredient list, and every one of them listed wheat, which is pretty common in most soy sauce production, just because it helps with the fermentation and everything else. And unfortunately, using a Japanese like tamari, it's not the same flavor, so really wouldn't work. So that's how we kind of ended up with this. Oh, very cool. So this is gonna trip you out. I've made kari kari, and I even made it with banana flour. I scored some amazing oxtails, and a very good friend of mine who's Filipino, I'm like, hey, you know, what should I do? And she's like, oh, you should totally give it a shot. I'd never heard of the dish before, so I looked it up and I sourced that banana flour and went to town, and it was tasty. Although what's interesting is I've since learned that the bulk of the time here in the US at least, banana flours tend to be super bitter, and so most, at least this is my understanding, is that most Filipinos here in the States don't even use it, just because it's usually really bitter and not all that good. No. The banana plant has a flour, and it's literally the flour that you add to the dish. Kari kari is a kind of a braised oxtail stew that has a bunch of vegetables, and there's like peanut butter that's in it. It's really good. She doesn't like oxtail? Is it because of the bones? That seems to be the biggest complaint most people have with it, is because of the bones. But oxtail is amazing. Yes. So, yeah, oxtail is amazing. If you ever have the chance to obtain it and make something with it, you should totally do it. Generally, it ends up being cooked super low and slow because it is kind of a tougher cut. But it's an amazing piece of meat. I highly, highly recommend it. Yeah, the fat and the marrow. Oh yeah, no, I love me the marrow. Yeah, in a big way. Used to have a Cuban restaurant near work that made oxtail on Fridays. That's awesome. I can imagine it would probably something to the effect of like a ropa vieja or something like that. Not 100% certain what they would have made. I'm only mildly familiar with Cuban cuisine. I'm just cutting off the florets here. I am going to hang on to this stem and kind of peel it down a little bit, because once you get past the tough interior, the inside's actually really tasty. At least to me it is. I don't care if my guests don't want it. I will gladly eat all of it. I'm just cutting down the bigger florets into more manageable pieces. Most of the time I try to like I'll sit there and I'll be like, okay, how can I cut this in such a way so it doesn't necessarily cut through things, when really I should just be like, dude, just cut through it, don't worry about it. That was one of the complaints that I had when I first started working at Whole Foods. I worked in the specialty department, which handles cheese, charcuterie, beer, wine, liquor, stuff like that, or at least that's how it was at our store. And cutting cheese and wrapping it and things like that, my OCD or whatever, I was always wanting to cut like these perfect wedges. Like I even would bring a protractor, or not a protractor, but a I guess a protractor, an angle guide, in order to make these really beautiful slices. And my boss was like, no. You want different sized pieces, so then that way customers can get, smaller or bigger depending on what it is that they want. But I always made a game out of it and would try to make slices like the exact same size. And it's funny going back through like my Facebook history sometimes, in the memories it'll come up where, here I was cutting something and wrapped up a whole bunch of cheese, and I'd have like 7 or 8 pieces of cheese that were all the exact same weight. It was just really funny to me. And then of course we always had to, or at least I tried to get the elusive piece of cheese that cost $6.66 for the cheese of the beast. Happy anniversary to Number of the Beast, by the way, from a couple of days ago. 40 years ago it came out. Have I tried making tornettes? Or tournays? If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, Vegas Squid, are you talking about the potato pieces that are like blunted either end? They're shaped a bit like a football and they have 7 sides on it. If that's what you're talking about, yes, I have way too many times, and I still have nightmares about them. Yeah, it was a skill that was part of the knife skills test that you would have to take every kitchen class when I was in culinary school. And tournays were like one of the final pieces of that. And so in the beginning of my time there, one of the chef instructors said, just go get yourself a big bag of like russet potatoes and practice, and just sit there and like cut and just make them. I mean, because to be honest, it's a really wasteful cut, because you end up discarding so much potato. But and I even asked about this. I was like, well, what's kind of the point? And really the whole point of being able to do that was to demonstrate your skills with a knife and trying to get it done really quickly. Even towards the end, with the practice that I did, I mean, they were passable, but they weren't necessarily beautiful. Yeah, you save the pieces. Yeah. I mean, you save them and you'd make mashed potatoes out of them, but it was just, yeah, it was always kind of a pain. I still have nightmares, like I said. It's like, oh no, I gotta, cut tournays again. To be honest, like, even if I tried now, they probably wouldn't look all that good, because I haven't cut one in like a decade. There's just been no reason for it. Alright. Okay. cauliflower is now prepped. Bit of the grapeseed oil. Salt. And pixie dust. Flippo cam. Alright, that's looking pretty decently mixed up. Alright, let's split these up between the two pans. In the meantime, let's clear this stuff. Oh, sounds like Mrs. Waso is home. Yep, Mrs. Waso be home. Hey, baby. All right, even those out. Good. That will work very nicely. Hi, Jane. Coming to say hi, Jane? Hi, little puppy. Hi, Jane. Good girl. Treats for the doggos. All right. Treat for the chef. Well, cook. I'm no chef.
Hey, party.
Hey, baby. On the phone?
Yeah.
Okay. I just saw your ear dealies in.
Oh no, he's streaming right now. Come on.
Who are you talking
What
to?
was that, sweetheart? Arizona.
Oh.
Arizona.
Okay.
I heart you. I heart for you, party people.
I thought Arizona moved.
Yeah.
Or not. I don't know.
No.
Oh, going to. Okay. So, anyways, cauliflower's prepped. Little before 5. Plenty of time. So, I'm going to do a little bit of rinsing real quick. Food, I'm going to start putting in probably in about 15 minutes or so. Then that way, everything will be done with plenty of time. And we can set the table and do things like that before people. So, night songs. Excellent question. The reason why I'm using a pair of 13x9 Pyrex dishes is because I've got 2 ovens. Got one down there and then I got one up on the wall. The one up, this is Pyrex. I'll get to that. So, the main oven can handle the big trays that I have, and no problem. And so the potatoes and the chicken will go in there without any issue. The small wall oven, on the other hand, it's significantly smaller and will only handle up to like a 16 by 16 tray. And given what I needed to roast, my trays wouldn't fit in there. So these Pyrex dishes are meant to be used in the oven. It's a special type of glass that was developed by, was it Corning? Corning in conjunction with like NASA or something like that. But yeah, it can take the high temp of the oven. It's been around for ever and a day. There is talk on the internet that the glass composition from back in the day was way better than what the current version is. It's like 3M or Corning, one of them, I don't remember. But for whatever reason, the Pyrex that's been out in the last, I don't know, 15 plus years, people have claimed that something is off because it seems to break way easier than kind of the older Pyrex dishes, which for whatever reason just seem kind of bulletproof. Supposedly Lumpy Pickle. If pure speculation, my guess would be that if that's the case, at least from the Pyrex dishes that I've seen most recently, they feel a little thinner and not as heavy as some of the old ones. And that may contribute to it, because the old ones, those suckers would last forever. And thankfully, because they can take the high temp, I mean, when I do kind of the smashed potatoes that I typically do, I do them in a Pyrex dish. Yeah, I know, seriously, Lumpy Pickle. But personally, like, I'm kind of neutral on it. Like, I find them to be very useful, especially for things like, you know, casseroles, or when I get around to making things like funeral potatoes. That's where they tend to shine, just because, I mean, this is about 2 inches deep, whereas the sheet trays are, you know, have a, you know, about a 3/4 inch lip. Yeah, and I do roast on a cookie sheet too. In fact, the sheets that the chicken and the potatoes are on are, well, actually they're, I guess, I suppose you can call them like a 3/4 sheet tray. It's not as big as a full sheet tray, but it's larger than a half sheet tray. It's just, they were these extra large ones that I found at, I think it was Walmart, before we moved up here. And I'm like, hey, this big tray size would actually be kind of helpful for things like, hey, we're having people over and I need to make a larger quantity of food. And something, you know, yeah, exactly, no bullshit. Just a bigger, you know, I needed a bigger tray, and so it's been very, very useful. And I've used them many times, especially when, you know, like I said, we've entertained guests and things like that. It's been very helpful to have a tray that fits, it like almost completely fills the oven, and then that way I can do massive amounts of food. So, okay, yeah, Nordic Ware is great. Them or what's the name of it? I forget. There's another kind of big aluminum manufacturer that makes them. But yeah, Nordic Ware works great. Yeah, those are fantastic. So, yeah, okay. I'm gonna wash my knives and kind of give a rinse to some of the stuff, and then I will be right back. Yeah. Talk amongst yourselves. Got a fistful of knives. Dry them off real quick before I put them up. Oh, I don't know if a lot of weather we've been having. Yeah. Kind of dry lately, though. I hear it's been raining cats and dogs in Idaho. I don't know if Squire Creamsicle is still around, but it's his birthday today, by the way. So feel free to wish Squire Creamsicle a happy birthday. That's my little brother. he had requested that I make a cheesecake today, but because one of the guests is lactose intolerant, everyone gets to suffer. But that's okay. I will make a cheesecake on stream for him in the very near future. Cold front earlier this week. You know, I think it's like 64 Fahrenheit outside right now, which is fantastic. It was really nice to be able to walk around without like a sweatshirt or anything on. Kind of thinking I should make that mayo soup, I think next Saturday. Thinking next Saturday I should make that mayo soup and do that stream. Show the recipe that should not be. And tell the whole story behind it and everything. Mid-70s, nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's been nice today. Like, it hasn't rained at all. It's been in the 60s. Very nice. Which I'm looking forward to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I'm fine with the rain and everything like that, but it'll be nice to drive around with the windows down. Okay. Let's see, 502. I'll give it a few more minutes and then we'll throw the potatoes in. I do have this tendency quite a bit when I'm making dinner that if I try to plan it out, like if I can throw everything into the oven and do kind of everything at once, I do that quite a bit, just so then that way it's like, oh, I do all my work and then it's done. And I just, I got to go in there in like a half hour or whatever and like rotate or flip or do whatever. Yes, Mayo Soup, accidental chaos. What ended up being wrong with the car? Oh, you're probably referring to Mrs. Hueso's car from, I think it was last week. Her battery her battery ran out. She left her headlights on. The next day, I took a little bit of extra time and I got it jump started and it's been fine ever since. So no big deal. So accidental chaos, Mayo Soup. Mayo Soup started out as a two separate meme jokes on the Unleash the Archers Discord and Twitch streams. Mayonnaise being one of the kind of the meme jokes that popped up, and then soup from that meme that goes around from, was it Code Geese or something like that, where, you know, I'm at soup. And what had happened was one of the guitarists for Unleash the Archers, Grant Truesdale, did this thing about soup selfies and taking a selfie in the soup aisle, and the soup being the we got a lot of mileage out of the mayo in the soup. And so what had happened was, as kind of a joke or whatever, you know, I said, well, what about Mayo Soup? And I forget who it was, but there was somebody on Twitch that messaged me a recipe for a mayo soup, and it originated in Spain. At least that's where kind of that recipe came from. And I read through it and I'm like, this is kind of interesting. And it seemed viable, but there were a couple of things that I personally felt like needed to be tweaked. But nonetheless, a recipe existed. And so, joke about it. Fast forward to, would have been September of last year. Unleash the Archers announced actually a couple of months prior, they announced a tour, and they were going to swing through the U.S. and end up in Canada, where they're from. And I threw it out there. I'm like, hey, if you guys are in the area, I would love to feed you. And I just kind of left it at that. So I know this is kind of a long, convoluted story, but just go with it. So anyways, I threw it out there. Hey, if you guys are in the area, I'd love to feed you. The day before they left on tour, they tried to leave on tour, offhandedly, Grant, at the end of his stream, said, oh yeah, I talked to the band, and yeah, we're down to come to your place for food. So I'm like, oh, okay, suddenly I'm feeding the band, which is just kind of like a, mind-blowing sort of thing. And, so in coming up with the menu, I was just like, I have to make this mayo soup. It is the meme of memes. So it has to be made. And so I made mayo soup, kind of based off of this recipe. And I did change it up a little bit just because there were some of the things in the recipe that I felt would have not worked. Like, for instance, part of the recipe involves making mayo from scratch, but they said, oh, use extra virgin olive oil to make it. And I was just like, extra virgin olive oil and mayo to me is disgusting. And I thought in this soup, it just would have not been good at all. And so I did not do that. But it turned out kind of like a whatchamacallit, a New England style chowder really is kind of how it turned out, because it had cod and it had shrimp in it. There were potatoes, and it was really kind of like creamy. And it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm eating mayo. It was like, okay, this is more like a chowder than anything else. And it was actually quite good, but it became the sort of the stuff of legend. And yeah, exactly. It still blows my mind that they were on my back patio eating. And that mayo soup is literally kind of the stuff of legends. And yeah, they are super cool people. Chowda. But yeah, I figured I would actually make it, because I've never really, I've kind of talked about it a bit, but I've never actually made it on stream. I've not told kind of the full story of my experience with that. And so I was going to make kind of a big to-do out of it, and kind of tell the whole story, and a lot of the background stuff that most people didn't know, like, for instance, when Grant said, hey, yeah, we're down to come, I started at that point making a list. And this was it would have been it would have been about a month before they actually came, because my stop was like the second to last day of the tour. But that 3 or 4 weeks I spent doing things like cleaning the floorboards, trimming the tree out front, doing a lot of like interior and exterior cleaning, like deep cleaning bathrooms and things like that, that most people don't know about. We had also we weren't sure how long they were going to be here, and so we planned on everything from in and out to, hey, we've got time to hang out for a couple of hours. And so like we had like board games ready to go, yeah, all sorts of things. It was just it's kind of a trip. But it was a good experience. It was actually it was a phenomenal experience. Yeah, but they're that honestly, Lumpy Pickle, that's kind of how I felt. If UTA came to my house, I would throw away my house and get a new one. I would have liked to, but that unfortunately that wasn't really a possibility. Yeah, I did a fair amount of landscaping before they showed up, so I wouldn't even know what to do if a band told me they were coming to my house. Yeah, exactly. And it was one of those things that when it happened, I was just like, I'm sorry, this is a reality. And bear in mind, this is September of 2021. The Rona was in full swing, right? And so, I mean, I honestly never in a million years thought that would have happened. But, and I did later on ask both Andrew and Grant kind of about that, because I was just like, you know, I thought it was like I'm like, what was the process? Like, how did this happen, kind of thing. And so I'll kind of talk more about that at the time. But at the moment, it's 5:13 on my clock, so I'm going to put the potatoes in the oven now. Okay. And since I'm here, pull that right down. Okay. So that is in. 15 minutes on the clock, and then we'll throw the chicken in, and we'll throw the cauliflower in at the same time. And most likely when everybody rolls in, we'll probably end up dishing up family style, which is kind of my, or actually just have people come into the kitchen and dish up. It's just easier. So I would totally prep the jam room. Yeah. Aside from being tremendous musicians, they're really nice and down-to-earth people. Andrew, yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. So the opening jingle, Andrew ended up offhandedly joking about doing it, and then he went and did it. I didn't ask, and it wasn't like, hey, want to write my jingle or something like that. It was just like, he just offhanded, he's like, oh, I should totally do this. I'm like, if you want to. So, yeah, it's, I've seen that on Grant's stream. I've seen him right here. Adrian is from Jason from Planeswalker and somewhere else. Yeah, exactly. It really was, to be honest. And I've been thinking about, like, like, you know, pie in the sky sort of thing. What would be great is, to have kind of an intro video with the jingle playing. And since it's in the style of kind of late 90s, early 2000s pop punk, especially, which just, it makes me happy. I thought, what would be kind of a cool video to go along with it? And I thought, like, okay, well, let's, and so I ended up, I think this would have been, it was either late last week or early this week. I looked up some of the, I literally just Googled like most influential pop punk videos and ended up pulling up, I don't know, probably about 15 or so and looking through them. And some of the ones I felt like, not so much. Like, it just wasn't really what I was looking for and didn't particularly care about. But there were a couple that stuck out to me. And I thought, okay, well, if we can kind of incorporate some of these elements, it would be amazing. The first one, as crazy as this sounds, but it was an incredibly influential song in terms of like kind of blowing into the mainstream, was Avril Lavigne's Skater Boy. And I can't say I'm a big fan of that song, to be honest. Girlfriend is probably my favorite song of hers. Call it a guilty pleasure, I don't care. But the Skater Boy video specifically, because that look that she had, kind of the t-shirt with the tie and the trucker hat kind of turned to the side, and the leather bracelets and things like that. Just kind of that look ended up being a template of sorts. I mean, even though like Green Day, their Dookie album came out in like '92, but the look wasn't quite as solidified, but it just seemed like for whatever reason the look from Skater Boy just like became the cookie cutter template for pop punk that came afterwards. You jam Hollywood Undead still, so you understand, hey, jam whatever you want, man. Like I listen to all sorts of different things. I don't judge. Well, I stereotype, I don't judge. So that was kind of the first thing. There was the other one that kind of stuck out, and I'm like, okay, this would be kind of cool. And I forget the name of the band now, but it might have been Jimmy Eat World. And I forget the name of the song, but I remember the video because the whole video is them playing at this house party, and the house party was filled with people just kind of in their underwear, and it was just that's what the party was. And got Luke Holland to drum on their newest album, Dude's an Absolute Madman. Oh, that's cool. So anyways, they're playing at this party, everyone's in their underwear, a guy walks in fully clothed, and he's sort of out of place and being kind of stared at, like, you know, because he's not fitting in. And the whole point of the song and the video was that, you know, do what you want to do, don't worry about what kind of everyone else is doing. But that idea of kind of the house party and having the band there playing, and like it stuck out to me. I'm like, okay, that'd be kind of cool. So I thought, okay, well, high in the sky, what if, and this is like a big what if, set it up in my front room and have people over and basically film it with that kind of like that look with the fisheye lens and the lighting that was super popular at that time, which was the and this is getting to like tech nerdery, but that's just sort of my thing. The lighting that was super popular is that they were using the fluorescent bulbs, but they had them in kind of like a radial pattern. And so it's especially apparent in, I think it's the White and Nerdy video from Weird Al, because he's doing a direct riff on Riding Dirty. But if you look at the lights in the eyes, how it's like those individual lines, and it's because it's those fluorescent lights that's in kind of a radial pattern, and the camera shoots through it. Kind of the precursor of the ring lights that are super popular. So I thought, like, fisheye lens through that, shooting the jingle video, and having the party kind of in my front room. I thought that'd be pretty awesome. Pie in the sky. So yeah. Trying to think who. Josh Freese. Is Josh Freese still drumming? He was drumming for the Vandals for a long time, but he was a kind of a freelance session drummer. That guy was a madman. I don't know if he's still around. On which channel? On this channel? Yeah. I've got stories from, you know, back in the day when I worked at Whole Foods and some of the craziness there. I've got stories from my time as a pest control technician. How I started kind of the whole Savages thing, especially when I was working at Whole Foods. Is he doing Perfect Circle now? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Josh Freese is up to. I haven't heard from him in a long time, but I mean, I remember sort of in late 90s, early 2000s when he was drumming with the Vandals, which that's a band that will always kind of have a special place in my heart. Punk band out of Orange County, California. Yeah, I don't know. Their album Hitler Bad Vandals Good is still one of my. Oh, he's touring with the Offspring. Yeah, that makes total sense. Since Offspring were playing backyard parties for years, it's kind of weird having grown up in Orange County. Like you hear about some of these bands, like like No Doubt, for instance. They would play like tiny places, and I mean they started out as a ska band, but they were it's all over Anaheim and Garden Grove and things like that. But yeah, they were all over the place. Like I can remember back when, well, this was when she was still wearing the cheerleader outfit. So this was way back. Before she went into her whiny phase, as I like to call it. I think it was the Return of Saturn album. I don't know. It just seemed like she was doing a lot of whining on that particular album, but whatever. Who am I to complain too much? I mean, she went on to make a whole lot of money, so good on her. Leaving work. Okay. Have a safe drive, Lumpy Pickle. Yeah, Pantera absolutely were. Yeah, because especially, so I remember reading and seeing in a number of interviews that before they they had like, what was that, 3 albums before Cowboys from Hell came out, and they were more of a glam band, and that was only because at the time the promoters and club owners in the area at the time, they didn't want anything other than that. So they were doing kind of what they had to do before, they were able to strike out and do their own thing. So met one of Vinnie Paul's good friends when he was working at CVS. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's kind of how it is. I mean, bands play wherever and whenever they can, before, they're able to sign a deal and, start touring and opening for bigger bands that expose them to more people. And that's just kind of how it goes. Although I will say it is kind of fun seeing bands play at like bowling alleys and dive bars and stuff like that, just because it's such an intimate setting and you don't know sometimes like if the band is going to just blow up and become huge, and you can say, hey, I saw them, when, sort of thing. But funny how, yeah, dude had stories for days when I had to ring up the next person. That's funny how that goes. My brother, the Squire Creamsicle, whom I mentioned, it's his birthday today. He met and became friends with Pantera's hair guy, which I thought I'm like, wait, what? But yeah, he's thanked in the liner notes of Cowboys from Hell for Phil's hair. And I guess he had like Cowboys from Hell gold record up on his wall kind of thing, and it was just something like that. Was kind of a trip. That was when he was down in Texas for a while. Yeah. So Saturday we are gonna be making, well, wait, hang on. Hey, Vegas Squid, if you're still here, you might want to mute me for a second. I'll signal you when it's all clear if you want to mute it, so because I'm about to talk about what we're going to make on Saturday, and if you want to be surprised, hit that mute button. So like I said, I'll signal you when we're good to go, okay? So Saturday we're going to do gluten-free katsu curry, Japanese curry with chicken katsu. And I've been kind of playing around because in Japanese curry, there's a couple of things that contain gluten, specifically the panko breadcrumbs that go onto the katsu itself. Usually when katsu is made, it's kind of the triple dredging with flour, egg, and then the panko breadcrumbs. So we'll be making the katsu sans gluten. Figured out a good panko replacement that is relatively inexpensive and actually worked really well. I tested it out earlier this week. I tested out a couple of things, and one of which was like, okay, this is kind of interesting, but it wasn't all that great. The other one was just like, okay, this is like a direct replacement. So we're like, okay, we're happy with that. We got that nailed down. The other thing that we had to figure out was because Japanese curry distinctively has a thicker consistency because of a roux, and roux are usually made with like all-purpose flour. You can't have that if you're trying to go gluten-free. And so I found a replacement in cassava flour, and I made a roux with it earlier this week to kind of test it out just to make sure that it would work. And sure enough, it does. There is a slight taste shift, but it's not enough to be off-putting. And so that I think it'll be really good. And we're gonna make the Japanese curry powder from scratch. So I've got a recipe for that, and I'll put it up on the Discord and everything else. There'll be recipes for just about everything. The only thing that I'm not gonna make from scratch is the liquid component of the curry. So I'm not gonna make a chicken stock to go with it, just because in this particular circumstance, 15 minutes on the clock, so then that way we can rotate the potatoes. And now cauliflower will also go in. Okay. So chicken stock. The reason why I'm not going to make chicken stock is because it's, for the recipe, it's pretty time consuming, and it's not enough of a difference to warrant the amount of effort that's being put into the entire dish. So we'll be using chicken broth that'll be made like with bouillon powder, but with everything else that's going into it, it'll be straight up delicious. Yeah, while I was cutting the Lumpy wanted to know about cauliflower fried rice. Yeah, and it's so cauliflower rice, I think I've made it once. It was okay. I like normal rice, but it's something that I think, who was asking about that? Was that Renfield? It might have been Renfield who was asking about cauliflower rice. And it's one of those things that I'd like to explore a little bit more to try to kind of perfect. I would imagine that in order to make it really good, probably will involve a two-step process. More than likely it involves steaming first and then kind of stir frying it at that point. But yeah, unfortunately, Mrs. Hueso is still on the phone with Arizona, or else she would be like sitting on the laptop in the kitchen yelling out stuff that I missed. But anyways, I'm here now, so I'm at least able to see the chat, since chat's actually here now. You almost met Mike Portnoy. Oh, that's a bummer. I met Michael Anthony from Van Halen at my culinary school graduation, which was strange. He was there because I think it was his nephew was graduating, and yeah, so he happened to be there, and I met him. I don't think too many people recognized him, because most of the people that went there were significantly younger than myself, probably about a solid 10 years or so. But yeah, Saturday's going to be good. Saturday's going to be good. We're making Japanese katsu curry from scratch. Okay, Vegas Squid, it's safe. So. There we go. Yeah, Saturday's going to be good. I'm excited. Oh, man. Good times. So, yeah. Now I'm just literally just sitting around waiting. I've got nothing else going on. I mean, do need to clear off the table and kind of take care of some stuff. I hesitate to sign off only because, I mean, I'd like to at least be able to show the food. But at the same time, it's like, I've got stuff I need to get done, and who wants to sit around and watch, like, a whole lot of nothing going on, you know what I mean? Hoping I can get some drum time Saturday. I got a cardio blaster practice list put together. Oh! What kind of stuff is on that list, Accidental Chaos? Oh yeah, you gotta see the taters. Hey, Muniz, welcome. Met Steven Tyler once. I don't remember why he was in town. We came to Edmonton and was at our food festival that we have in July. That's random. Steven Tyler just being in Edmonton. I wonder if they were like on tour and had a day off. Hey, Chris Carnage, welcome, welcome. We're at the point right now where we're just kind of standing around and waiting because everything is in the oven. We got people coming over for dinner tonight, and to make my life a little bit easier, everything is just in the oven at once. So then that way it'll all be done kind of at once. And yeah, we're just kind of waiting for things at the moment. Menu, exclamation point menu for the full menu. I've also got it written up there if you can read it. We're roasting cauliflower. We're doing some roasted potatoes with rosemary, salt and pepper, some granulated garlic and onion. So those are roasting away. And a gluten-free oven-fried chicken. The chicken's been coated in tapioca starch to promote a nice crispy crust. So at this point in time, we're just really kind of waiting on things. Probably another 10 minutes or so to kind of shake up and then turn the potatoes. Probably flip the chicken in maybe 30 minutes-ish. And then we'll check on the cauliflower too. So we're just currently, we're hanging out, just chatting, talking about food, talking about music, talking about whatever. So that's what's going on. Yeah, to be honest, like I listened to Aerosmith a little bit. This would have been kind of like back in high school and maybe a little bit afterwards, but yeah, I just my taste changed, and you know, it's just like, okay, it just Aerosmith didn't really do it for me much after that. A lot of Dream Theater, Whitechapel, some UTA, Kill Switch Engage, Symphony X. Oh, you'd stream drumming, but I'm out of practice and don't have the equipment to do that. Yeah, no, I totally, I get that. I totally get that. But it sounds like that will be a really good cardio workout. Lot of fast beats on that. So good on you, man. Will I be streaming on this April 7th? Maybe? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. April 7th is my birthday. So I don't know if I will be streaming that day or not. Might take the day off. Might not. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a birthday party on stream. Who's to say? Listened to them a bit in high school as well, but taste got progressively heavier, so listened to them less and less as a result. Yeah, and I was, well, I don't know if to be honest, my taste really kind of started out heavier. Well, I guess heavier by comparison. I mean, when I first really really started paying attention to music and listening to music, I started listening to like Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue. Then, like, the first band that I really kind of latched onto was Anthrax. So that's kind of where I started. But I mean, like, Aerosmith came out and was like, this would have been in the Get a Grip era when they, like, back in the 90s. And it was like, okay, yeah, it was like catchy music, and, you know, I enjoyed it. And I checked out some of their older stuff and I enjoyed it. But, later on, I don't remember what the album was after Get a Grip, but it was just, like, it didn't do anything for me, and I was just like, there were other things that I was into at that point. So, thank you, Accidental Chaos. In high school, my music taste went from Linkin Park to Trivium to Dream Theater to The Faceless, all metals. Yeah, and Linkin Park still remains one of Mrs. Hueso's favorites.
That's right.
Yeah. You remember the Aerosmith Tom Petty phase? To be honest, I still like Tom Petty. So, first latch on band was The Who. Nice. That's a good band to latch on to initially, because great recordings, some, you know, fantastic music. So, a lot of good stuff. You're off the phone with Arizona finally?
Yeah.
Good conversation with Arizona?
Yeah, it was excellent.
Oh, good. Yeah, you haven't talked to Arizona in a while. Mrs.
I'm
Hueso
trying to
stepped
talk her
outside.
into moving up here.
I thought they were moving to Ohio.
Alabama, but that didn't work out. Long story. I'll tell you more later.
Oh, okay. Say hi to Chat.
Hi, chat.
Mrs. Hueso.
I love Lincoln Park so much, but UTA all the time. That's how I feel now. Oh, UTA all the time.
Which is funny because she got on to me about all UTA all the time. What's in Arizona? Her friend.
One of my closest friends that I met in school lives in Arizona. And I haven't talked to her in a long time.
Yeah, they were going to Ohio, but then it was Alabama, but that didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, tell me later. Apparently one of the first bands your dad saw live, and they were the opener?
The Who?
The
Wow.
Who? Whoa. They played a show back in the day, apparently, where the venue was basically a converted barn back in the early 70s, late 60s. Who on
That would be awesome.
Who? Okay, wait. If the Who were an opening band,
Yeah, who do they play for?
who do they play for? Because if that would have been super early, that would have been more of kind of their early, like, mod phase, right? She's just like here, wah 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 wah. James Taylor, were you in the womb at the time?
My first concert was Def Leppard. And then when
Yes, but what tour was it?
it was a Hysteria tour a long time ago. But at the reunion tour we went with Journey. We flew down to California because I had to go to the same place I saw it for the first time.
Great Western Forum.
It was amazing.
Oh, nice.
It was at UTA amazing,
Yeah.
but it was close.
It was really good, though. It was back in your dad's teen days, way before you were even a thought. Yeah. My first was Disturbed with Kitty opening. Wow.
I would like to see Disturbed. The bats!
Yes, I know, because I took you to it. First metal concert was Dying Fetus. Dang. For a first metal concert? Like, dang.
It's so fun when we went to UTA. David's like, now, this is a metal concert. I'm like, hey, I've seen Ozzy Osbourne. It's
Well,
not my
okay.
first one.
Hang on. To be fair, she ended up at Ozfest,
The first Ozfest.
but it was like, wait, why are you at Ozfest? Like, there was no reason why she should have been there, but she was there.
So I've been, wasn't my first time.
And then one of her brother's friends happened to find her. Was just like, yeah, you're not leaving my side.
Yeah, it was really funny. He's like, you don't belong here.
Mm.
And he stuck right by me.
Yeah.
I do belong at UTA concerts.
Trying to think who my first metal concert was. It's probably Anthrax. Mine was Metallica, Summer Sanitarium 2003. Oh, wow. Will you drive to the show if I get you a ticket? Yeah, sure, why not? I can imagine that would have been crazy. Yeah, I think my first metal concert would have been... I'm pretty sure it was Anthrax, and I'm also pretty sure it was...
I'd love to see Anthrax.
I think it was during... Was it during the We've Come For You All tour? I think it was, like, it would have been early 2000s. John Bush was still the vocalist for him at the time. And I saw him, you know what, it might have been Devin at the Galaxy with Return of the Killer Rays. That might have been it. But yeah, I saw Anthrax with John Bush. I think it was like 3 times. Every time was phenomenal. Yeah. Possibly, I don't quite recall. First concert was when I was 12 for a band called Switchfoot. First metal show was Iron Maiden. Oh, nice. What era of Iron Maiden was that, Immunize? Anthrax Live is amazing. Saw them with Squire Creamsicle in LA. This would have been 6 years ago. And they were a phenomenal show. They were absolutely on point. They were one of the opening acts for Lamb of God, and I forget who opened before that. And they were pretty good. But then after Anthrax played, we're like, yeah, we're good. I didn't particularly care about Lamb of God, and we're like, we saw Anthrax, we're good, so we took off. Oh, Power Slave Revisited, very nice. Tossed my buddy into the mosh pit and wished him best of luck. Yeah, I've been in a few pits, but it's generally because I wear glasses. I don't go into very many pits just because if I don't have them, I can't see. And so yeah, no bueno. Yeah, Anthrax Testament would be a great combo. Oh. Okay. Let's check potatoes. Oh, these are looking good. They've only been there a half hour, but they've got some nice color on them. And chicken is looking pretty good. I'm thinking I'm going to put the potatoes up top and the chicken down below. There we go. And the cauliflower is getting a little bit of color, so that's good. Okay. We'll put another 15 on the clock. Because at that point, we'll flip the chicken. Skin side down on that chicken, just so then that way they renders out a bunch of the fat and the skin gets super crispy, which is what we want. Let's see. I think it was like Slipknot, Anthrax, and Lamb of God. Okay. When we saw him, it wasn't Slipknot who opened. I forget who it was. It might have been Testament. I don't remember. Maybe Squire Creamsicle remembers. I don't quite. Because we went and saw Deadpool right before it. Yeah, pits and glasses absolutely do not mix. I have taken it off. It was power metal. I don't recall. Hey, welcome home from work, Lumpy Pickle. Ozzy Metallica opened for him. Oh, okay. Oh, was this when Metallica opened for Ozzy, that was like when was that? Because we were talking about like first concerts and things like that. My first concert like that I went to like in intentionally by myself probably would have been, it might have been the Aquabats at the Palace in Hollywood. And this would have been late 98, I think is what it was. I think that would have been like my first, like, I intentionally went by myself kind of thing. Late 80s, okay. Yeah, I did, so that would have been probably more, was that during the Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets era? I'm guessing Lumpy Pickle. First punk show that I went to would have been, I think, the Vandals, and I forget who opened for them. Ended up seeing the Misfits a few times with Michael Graves singing. Yeah, a lot of good concerts up in LA. It was fun. Favorite concerts you guys have seen? Mine's either Avenged Sevenfold with the Deftones or Tool. Oh, it's Justice. Okay. Favorite? Oh boy. I don't know. That's hard to say, because there's favorite concerts for different reasons, for me at least. Unleash the Archers, when they came through Portland, is definitely on the list because we had such an amazing time. Impotent Sea Steaks. Yeah, Impotent Sea Steaks opened for the Misfits at a show that Squire Creamskull and I went to, and yeah, we didn't care for them. But the Misfits at the Galaxy, that was a fun show. Andrew W.K. at Cain's in San Diego. That's one of my top concerts of all time. That was an absolutely amazing show. Like, it was just high energy the full time. That was when I think that was 2001 or 2002, I think is when that was. But that was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Rocket from the Crypt at the El Rey with the Rattlesnakes, and I think it was International Noise Conspiracy, which if they didn't talk in between the songs would have been great. But the moment they opened their mouths, they decided to get all political, and it was just like, dude, it just killed the mood, because the music was great, but it was just like, okay, we gotta listen to this. You saw Pantera 9 times. They were always amazing. Can't pick one out in particular. Yeah, okay, I can see that. I can absolutely see that. Have I heard the song that Andrew W.K. did with Necrogoblicon? I don't think I have. I'll have to check it out. AC/DC was a wild show. I can imagine. I'm just out of curiosity, what era of AC/DC? UTA, because first time doing VIP. Okay. Maiden, first metal show. I totally get that. And Eric Clapton. Oh. It was so cool to see a musician just lose himself in the music. Like, he only interacted with the crowd once. And it was just like, he just realized they were all there and he was just jamming out. Okay. I can completely see that. Like, Clapton would be a really good show, especially like within, I don't know, like the last 20 years or so. Because I can completely see him just getting lost in the music and going to town. UTA last year was tremendously awesome. Some of them was my new favorite. Yeah,
UTA all the time.
RFTC was Sonny Vincent and the Rattlesnakes. Was it Sonny Vincent that played with the Rattlesnakes? I thought it was International Noise Conspiracy, but it might have been... But it was Sonny Vincent? Okay. Yeah, that was... Yeah, the show that Squire Creamskull is talking about was one of the few shows that I've been to where... not only did I love the headlining band, but I really liked all of the opening bands. Because it seems like more often than not, that sometimes the supporting acts, I'm just like, I'm not quite like, if I'll give them a shot if I've never heard of them, because like, hey, why not? Let's check them out. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm not into them, but that show, like, everybody was excellent. Everybody was great. Yeah, that was, and that, so I can, yeah, that easily is top 3 concerts of all time. Also, the only time I've seen 50,000 people cry at the same time was when he played Tears in Heaven. Yeah, I can absolutely see that happening in Muniz. AC/DC in 2012. Was that the Ball Breaker tour? I don't quite remember. Yeah, when the next time Unleash the Archers comes through town, absolutely go see them. It's a great show. They put on a phenomenal set. So absolutely, I've only been to a handful of local style shows other than Metallica. Really enjoyed Seven Kingdoms. Yeah, Seven Kingdoms put on a really great set. Eighth Realm, I really enjoyed when they came through. Seven Kingdoms. What's funny is being able to watch them on Grant's stream ahead of time is like, oh, okay, you get a feeling for the band and everything. And I remember thinking while watching that there was a lot of things about Seven Kingdoms that reminded me of like earlier Unleash the Archers. Like it felt like almost like Demons of the Astrowave era, Unleash the Archers. And going back and kind of listening through some of their music, the thought that I had was, you know what? Give them a few more years and they're just gonna get, like, they're gonna really just bloom and become even bigger than they have been, because they're excellent now. I'm excited to see them in, like, after Zenith comes out, maybe even with the album after that. I'm really, really interested to see where they'll be then, because, like I said, they're really, really excellent now. I want to see them in a few more years, because I really think at that point they'll be totally next level at that point, in my opinion. Don't miss UTA. Bums me out that, well, bands I like aren't good live. UTA is amazing. They bring their A game. Yeah, that, it's okay. It was the Black Ice tour. Gotcha. Yeah, it is kind of interesting, Lumpy Pickle, that is the case way more often than it should be. That bands, the album sounds amazing, but then when you get them on stage, it's not that same level. It's just not as good.
That's why I don't like concerts.
Yeah, and that, it seems like that's kind of the case for or at least it was for kind of a long time. But yeah, UTA in some ways, like, easily as good as the album, and in some ways maybe even just that little bit more. Yeah, because, like, you think, oh, there's no way Britney's gonna hit all those high notes on, especially like Tonight We Ride and things like that. No, she hits them.
She did.
Every night. And sometimes she even goes a little bit further. So it's just like, you know what? How can you not love that? RFDC with the Bronx. Yeah, good call. Rocket from the Crypt at the Galaxy Theater with the Bronx. The Bronx is an amazing punk band. If you've never heard them, I highly recommend seeking them out. And then they also have their mariachi side project called Mariachi El Bronx, which is also excellent. I highly recommend them. Chris Carnage, dude, when you have a chance, if they're within, a few hundred miles, definitely seek them out. Yeah. Brit live is insane. And in some, it's like, oh, wow, she sounds amazing on the album. And then you hear her live, you're like, oh, no, that's interesting. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens with this next album that they're starting to work on. Yeah. Can she hit them live? Yes, she can. And she hits them consistently. Yeah. Yes, the band stage presence is amazing. It's funny watching some bands play, and it's just like, oh, they're there and they're performing, and that's just kind of it. It's like, you know, okay, that's just sort of how it is. But when a band plays and it's just like, okay, they're into it, but it's like they're into it because the music is amazing and the crowd is into it and everybody just gets into it. It's just this amazing experience. So yeah, how can you not love all the jousting, windmilling, stomping, dork dancing, flute playing, all that fun stuff? Live videos are pretty impressive, but in person still, yes, absolutely. You know, it's funny, Accidental Chaos. When we keep talking Unleash the Archers, when they went out and did that bit of the U.S. and then the Revenge of the U.S. tour, yes, how can you forget Dork Dancing Immunized? Seriously. Yes, if Amon Amarth comes, yeah. If they do, I'm in for that. I'm definitely in for Amon Amarth. What I wanted to do, because I thought, oh, a live video for, like, say, Soulbound, or like, no, they already did a video for Soulbound. But like a live video for Wind That Shapes the Land, or one of the other songs that they don't have a video for. The idea that I had, and I put a fair amount of thought into this. Who's gonna row with me at Amon Amarth? I'll also row at Ailstorm. The idea that I had was to kind of crowdsource the video for whatever song. And the idea was that because people, like, I'm using this cell phone, so if I switch to this view, this main camera is my cell phone. Cell phones take, at least, you know, some of the current generation ones take some really excellent video. So the idea is that you get half a dozen people at each show specifically for this one song to use their cell phone, and hopefully to have like a one of those handheld gimbals or something like that. And then what you do is have them kind of situated across the front of the stage, like if there's a small press pit or something like that, or at least have them front row. Maybe somebody off on the side of the stage. Excuse me, Jane. All right. Time to flip the chicken. All right. Oh, potatoes are looking nice and roasty.
He needs a few good taters. What's taters, brothers? What's taters, huh? Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Oh, there's a brand new channel point redeemed that I put in there just today. Smoking rainbow trout. Oh, smoked trout, nice. Yes, Death Clock with Chimera and Killswitch Engage. That was a phenomenal show too. It was when Death Clock first started playing live shows. We saw Wayne Static standing in the VIP area. Okay, so
You gotta finish the story on your dream
okay, so the video. You get multiple people using their cell phones. Each person is assigned one band member. So you get one person filming Andrew, one person filming Brittany, etc., 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 for each of the 5. And then you'd have one person doing like a wide establishing shot with their cell phone. And you get the soundboard audio, or you could just dub it over the album. This is our chicken so far. Yeah, Chimera was really, really good. Would you open the oven, please?
Yeah.
Go. All right. 15 minutes on the clock. There we go. Excuse me. Oh, careful. Yep.
I didn't know we were using both ovens.
Rotating, changing shelves. And back again.
Woo!
Woo! So, as I was saying, the idea is you have these multiple cameras and people shooting, focusing on individual band members and an establishing shot at each one of the shows. And since it's being shot on the cell phone, at that point you can either email or like offload to like a thumb drive or whatever that video footage. You take all the video footage from all the different shows and you splice together sort of the ultimate live video, and you shoot. That's how you shoot it on the cheap, is by having the audience take part in that. So there you go. There's your idea of how to shoot a live video on the cheap. Yeah, one of the rare concerts. Every band was amazing on their own. Yeah, everyone at the Death Clock, Chimera. What was that? Trivium? Who was the... Oh, Killswitch Engage? Like, I can't say that I was always the biggest Killswitch Engage fan. They played an amazing set, though. Like, everybody was super good. The Switcher Labs, if you all have iOS devices at the central hub. Oh, okay, I can see that. Okay, I have a nice cell phone clamp handle and a Shure mic. Well, yeah, so instead of like relying on the cell phones for the audio, that's why I was saying, because their sound guy JJ is always got that, you can record the raw audio from the shows and then mix it and then just do it over and then put in all the footage and everything. Now you see why it's called oven fried chicken, exactly, because when I made the chicken, the tray was completely dry, and when I brought it over, you saw kind of that liquid. That's just rendered fat from the chicken. That's all that is. So, in case you didn't see it, my dad says the group the Who opened for back in the day was Herman's Hermits. Show was in '67. Wow. I actually have heard of Herman's Hermits. Sure you do. But Scott Connor, king of puns in the house. Welcome, welcome. Wow. They opened for Herman's Hermits. That's kind of crazy. And Herman's Hermits, from what I remember, was more of I want to say they were proto-rock? Sort of, I guess, kind of garage-ish rock, but they weren't super edgy or anything like that. They were pretty mainstream. I'm trying to remember what they had a couple of big hits. Another opening band was there as well, a group called Blues Magoos. Blues Magoos I have not heard of, but Herman's Hermits was trying to remember. They had a couple of really big hits. So I should explain that growing up, I didn't really listen to like mainstream music or anything like that, just because I didn't. Anytime I was in the car, my dad would have on what was considered the oldies station at the time. And it was, all older music at the time, so like 50s, 60s. Yeah, Hermits were from England. Also crazy to think that Hendrix opened for the Monkees back in the day. Yeah, and what's even crazier is to think is that Hendrix played for Little Richard back in the day too. Dude, the Monkees would have been a cool show to see. Mrs. Waiso saw the Monkees at one point. So were the Who, so kind of makes sense they were touring Canada together. Okay, yeah, that does make sense. But yeah, that was my idea of how to crowdsource a live video on the super cheap. Because I guarantee you, at every one of those shows that UTA played, if they had talked to, because there were people from like Twitch and Discord at like every show, if they had talked to those people ahead of time and be like, hey, we want to station you here, and if they had announced it like, hey, we're going to be filming for this song, if you guys could give them the space to shoot it, kind of thing, and then played and then called it good at that point, oh man, they would have had so much footage to come through, but it could have been amazing. And then you just, let everybody do their thing, and jousting and dork dancing and spinning knee slides. And one of these days we'll get the quad kick. PSA, hold your phone home. Yes. Prince owes Little Richard more than a few royalty checks. Well, yeah, absolutely. So, funny story about Prince. Blouses with. If you remember the Chappelle Show story that Charlie Murphy told about Prince, where they like went over, hung out, played basketball, and served pancakes and all that stuff. So before that show even came out, there was a coworker of mine, I think it was Greg, who it was. He was telling me that that Prince was like an amazing basketball player. Like, even though the dude was, 5 foot whatever, like the guy could play basketball. And so it was just like, oh, I'm like, really? But he's like, yeah, apparently. And he showed me a photo of Prince. It would have been, I think, around the time of his first album, is when he kind of still had that long, flowing, somewhat straightened hair that kind of curled at the end. I think it was like his first album, and there was a shot of him like almost at a 45-degree tilt, like turning and dribbling a ball, and I was just like, what the? And like, I wouldn't have believed it had he not shown me it. And so when it showed up on Chappelle's show that, oh yeah, he could play, and I'm like, yeah, I knew that. But he had this art. I seen it. If you don't know how, you are dork dancing correctly. That is correct. Yeah, the that dork dance is just adorable. Absolutely adorable. But yeah. Yes, exactly. This whole time you did know how to dance Accidental Chaos. Doesn't mean we know how to dance well, just that it can be done. As long, if you're moving your body some way rhythmically to the beat, you are dancing. If the music is only in your head, it still counts as dancing. The dance was in you all along. The dance was the friends we made along the way. Oh man. Funny, funny stuff. I should probably go get a couple more Trivas. Very, very, very fine line between dancing and epilepsy. Only if you're doing proto-moshing, aka like the pogo, stuff like that, I think. Alright, we are at 6:10 with about 5 minutes to go. get rid of my shelf liner non-slip mat. And this way we can lay stuff out. We'll probably lay it out against the back, lay it out here at the back counter, so then when people get here, trivets and my cast iron pig. Then people can just come in here and, although I'll probably end up leaving stuff on the stove too, just so then people can come through and not be on top of each other. Yeah, the dork dance is your entire repertoire. Yeah, I got dork dancing and bad dork dancing. Yeah. Also, if you get any more time to catch the Dragon Force stream tonight, the stream has been sounding amazing so far. Oh, good. Because I know Herman's been using that Mevo setup from Logitech, which seems pretty dang cool. And yeah, it has been sounding pretty good. I don't know if Herman's been able to get a plug-in to the soundboard. But if I have the chance to catch the Dragon Force Scream tonight, definitely. Oh, no worries, Vegas Squid. You know, have fun lurking and playing the Magic. It's been years since I've played. I got out of it around the time of Ice Age. If that makes sense. So, way back. This would have been early 2000s. Been like 2 good nights then 1 bad night. Yeah, well, you know, it just happens. I mean, that's kind of how it was for Grant when he was streaming. Whether or not he could swap the batteries out fast enough, but I will say that the sound on the coming from the camera, like when it was just the camera sound, was pretty impressive for what it was, even if it wasn't the soundboard. So. Playing Magic the Gathering Arena. Commander. I know you're speaking English, but I don't know. And I understand all the words separately. Together, though, I'll take your word for it. I can smell all the things. 3 minutes on the clock. What's that? Chicken's looking good. Potatoes are looking roasty.
Those look great.
They do. I'm thinking.
Great.
Grab a fork. I want to kind of fork test it real quick.
It's forked.
Yeah, it's forked. Good.
Put one in my mouth hole.
Well, wait till it's cooled down a little bit because you're going to burn your mouth hole if you put it in right now.
Yes.
Yes.
I listen.
Being a streamer is a lot of work. Gonna figure out how to get. Yeah, you know what, Lumpy Pickle? Like, I still swear that there is a way to externally power that camera. I am positive that there's a way. Who knows? Speaking of G-Money, I sent him a video of Elden Ring reskinned with Homer Simpson. Oh, jeez. That's pretty funny. Magic Gathering Arena is an online version. Oh, okay. Right on. It's newer than Ice Age, though, so probably explains why you've never heard of it. Yeah, exactly. Bear in mind, when I first started playing Magic the Gathering, it was during the revised edition. So... like it was right after the Legends expansion came out. So it was after Legends, but yeah, and it was post Antiquities and Arabian Nights, like the very first ones. So long time ago. Yeah, being a streamer, yes, it is. Fork it up. Also, hit me up if you ever need to play people to play Commander with. A stream every morning on a lot of effort behind it. Bump. Pretty sure. Actually, there's a lot of effort into streaming. At least you're making stream look and sound good. Well, thanks, Vegas Squid. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was like late 90s. Yeah, it was actually. actually early 90s. I got into it, I think it was around 92. A friend of mine was like, hey, this is kind of a thing. We had heard about it, and so we picked up a couple of starter decks and a couple of boosters, and that's where it started. And then it turned into, I have thousands of cards. So, back when I could buy an Alpha Black Lotus for $100, just to put that into perspective. Yeah, no, seriously, thank you, Vegas Squid. I'm, like, it's taken a lot of work to get to this point, and even though it's like, I think I've officially been streaming, I think 2 months in a week, I think is how long I've officially been going, but it's like, I've been slowly kind of building it and doing a whole bunch of research on how to, like, say for instance, make the mic that I have sound good, how to set up the cameras. Timer has gone off. Like, it's taken a lot of behind the scenes work that, you know, unless you stream yourself, you just have no concept of how much work it is. Alright. Oven fried chicken. Roasted potatoes. I don't want to melt that particular cord. And I'm thinking I should get that other trivet. Woo! Steam blast.
Spicy.
Woo! Those are quite hot. Let's move that a little bit. And there we go. We've got dinner. And it's all sizzling. Mighty patient dog, yeah. Jane, that's one of his superpowers is the fact that he's always hungry. But yeah, let's dish up a couple of these things real quick. So cauliflower. There's a potato. And we'll snake the littlest thigh, but if you can see, and maybe if I do it up here. Yeah, that skin is super crispy, which is precisely what I wanted. So let me get my fork. So, little taster before the guests get here real quick. That cauliflower, nice and steaming. Got some brown on there. Let's give that a taste. Nice and soft. But it's not like overcooked soft. Still has a bit of the structural integrity, which is kind of what I wanted, but it's soft enough to where it's like, oh, okay, I'm not eating raw cauliflower, which is good. There is a little bit of garlic on the cauliflower, but it's in the form of the pixie dust seasoning that I make. Tender crisp. Jogo! Yes, you are correct, Jogo. It is a lot of food, but it's also because I'm feeding 6 people. And I want leftovers. So I don't have to cook tomorrow. Dogs are the dishwashers. Yeah, I wish. Yep, 6. We got 4 people coming over. And within that group of people that are coming over, there is a gluten allergy, dairy intolerance, as well as a tomato allergy. And so I went with something nice and easy. Everything kind of went into the oven at slightly different times, but everything was able to come out at the same time and be done. Planning ahead. So welcome. Yeah. So anyways, let's tuck into that potato. Little fresh rosemary, granulated garlic, granulated onion, salt and pepper on there. I just cracked it open and threw a little butter on it because I kind of have to have butter on my potatoes. Okay. It's a little hot. The Instant Pot makes amazing Korean sauna style eggs where you put them in the Instant Pot for like an hour or something like that. It actually kind of caramelizes the whites. They're really good. They're very different than what you normally have, but they're super good. Soft boiled eggs, that's what the sous vide is for. Let's see. Scroll up a little bit. How much is a Black Lotus going for now? Who knows? An Alpha Black Lotus, tens of grand. Yeah, like honestly, I at the time I was still in high school and I was like $100 for a card seems stupid to me. In retrospective, I should have bought every last one that I can get my hands on because that would have been a good investment. But then again, at the time, nobody thought Magic was going to last this long. You know what I mean? I can either confirm or deny that I may make an appearance at Decay stream at no point. I can confirm it. The sizzle, the potatoes, yeah, everything is looking good. Yes, I use thighs. Generally speaking, I use thighs whenever I make chicken. The reason is that the bone to flesh ratio is better, and I just prefer dark meat. As for the potatoes, so the outside has got a nice little crust on it, but the inside, because I use Yukon Golds, is really nice and pillowy soft. And it tastes good. I do have a dishwasher, but more often than not, I'm the one who's doing the pre-wash and running the dishwasher. Like, I ran 2 loads today because I was washing cutting boards and stuff too. Cauliflower is super good. Yeah, you like that close-up crisp note certification? It's ASMR. I have a vampiric tutor I'm holding on to for the time being. Oh, very cool. Knocking us out with those American thighs. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm gonna hang on. Let me. So just as by way of demonstration. So if you remembered from when I trimmed the chicken earlier on, I took off that little flap that would have been what I call the chicken chicharron. This is the skin now. See how rigid that is? Yeah, and almost all of the fat's rendered out of it. But that is shatteringly crisp, which is perfect. Sounds like people might be here. Curious. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, this turned out very good. Yeah, that tapioca starch, that little packet of it that I picked up was only like $1 something or other. Fantastic gluten-free alternative to what I normally use. Let's see. Come on. That's what I get for asking the computer to do. Okay. Alrighty. Well, it looks like... Yeah. I think people are here. Yeah. Accidental Chaos, that's one of the hazards of watching this stream is that you're going to make yourself hungry. That's why I highly recommend showing up with either a snack or having eaten ahead of time. So, so the coating, Night Songs, the coating that I put on was tapioca starch. So then that way it's a gluten-free alternative. Skin is shatteringly crisp. So, but that's also part of starting off the chicken skin side down on the tray. So then that way it renders out as much of that fat as possible. So usually make an herb butter, and after potatoes are done roasting, put them in a bowl, a few pieces of butter, and let them melt and toss. See, that's fantastic. I would do that, except, like I said, within the group of people coming over, there's a dairy intolerance, and so that's going to have to be kind of a, you know, put it on yourself. So in terms of like gluten-free, dairy-free, dinner's ready to go, but it sounds like, yeah, and if you want to use like a vegan butter, you can certainly do that too. But sounds like people are here, so I apologize, but I'm going to have to cut it short, just so then that way, because none of these people have consented to be on screen, other than Mrs. Wayso. Thank you so much for everybody. Sorry for abruptly cutting out. Can they breathe dairy air? I wouldn't recommend it. Thank you everybody for being here. You're all amazing. I will see all y'all online. If I don't see you before Saturday, I will see you Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific, making some yummy fun stuff. So take care, everyone. Have yourself a good night.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK